Evening. Every time.
Yeah, we need a fade out.
I've got to answer that Stuart's question. First and foremost, will we get anyone falling off chairs tonight? I have no idea.
Well, the night is still. Do you know? I watched that back last night because I still can't. I still couldn't figure out how he fell off the chair. So I watched it back, and it's very, very funny. Bless him. And he wasn't even drunk. He just got his foot stuck in the carpet and just coped over.
Aldo looked like a pro, though, didn't he?
He did. And
it's almost as if he hadn't he'd done it before. He knew what he was doing.
First for the Blether as well. So we'll mark that up for a first. But yes, hopefully nobody falls over tonight, and we're all sat safely.
We're all good. So, what's in your dram, Kat? What are you tippling on tonight?
So, I did start with an idea, and then we were just speaking to Ali off air, and it gave me an idea for my second dram. So, I'm going to show you what I went with first. And it's because it's now officially a lost distillery. And look how big that bottle is. I can't even fit it in the full screen. It's like holding a caber. It's like insane. So I thought, and I've already opened this. So it's not like I can keep it for like 50 years and sell it as the
spay. Yeah.
So it's the 10A one. So that's the Tawny Port, isn't it? The
port cask, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it must be the newest lost distillery. It would I'm trying to think what the last lost distillery would have been before that.
I don't know, actually. I should have looked that up, to be honest. But
Caperdonic was 2000 and it was demolished in 2007 when Forsyths. I wondered if it's the D-side distillery. They did about 50 casks and then moved to Burnabenny. So technically, D-side became a lost distillery about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Pete had saying Caperdonic as well. So
yeah, that was the first one to come into my head.
Yeah, I think. It's a shame because it looks like it was a beautiful distillery. I've never got up to see it because it has like a water wheel and. Doesn't it? Or am I thinking the wrong place? I'm sure it had like a water wheel or something outside it.
Caperdonic was in Rothes. That started off as Glen Grant 2. That was the one that they built to cope with demand of Glen Grant. And then they had the pipe that runs across the main street that all the Rothes guys were drilling into in midnight and covered up the wax. Robin Lang sings a song about it. So if you've not heard that one, get onto Robin Lang on Spotify and listen to the Rothes Loons song.
Oh, wow. I have made the classic Cat of plugging the charger into the computer and not plugging it into the wall. I will be 2 seconds.
Okay. Kind of need both ends to be connected for that to work. So while Cat is charging, I am going to pour my dram for the night, which is Woodrow's Longmorn 14-year-old. So we had this last week at Woodrow's tasting event at the shop, and in amongst a pretty heavy sherry lineup, this for me was the standout. So that's what I'm going to be drinking. No connection to Lost Distilleries. It's a bugger to find a Longmorn, but that is what I have tonight. So cheers to the brethren. At home, we've got some Wolfburn 11 poured by Scott. Tim is having a Glenord from Cadenhead. Sauterne cask. That's going to be banging. Sorry, Frank, I just clicked on your screen there by mistake. Who else have we got? Ed Friday is having an Easterton Aberdeenshire cider. If only somebody would do a cider cask. If only we were allowed to do cider cask whiskey. I mean, we could do it and then get told off and told not to do it again, but maybe. And we've got Dave Facker saying, good evening, Dave. You are on the Reserva Andalusia from Glencadam. Any other drams? Nobody's mentioned any more drams, but do let us know what is in your glass tonight, guys, as we introduce our guest, Alistair or Ali Heather. Hello.
Good evening, guys. Thanks very much for having me on.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. It's always great.
I'm loving seeing all the chat come in. Hello to Richmond, Virginia. I visited there once and it is class. And also a big shout out to the Glencadam and Faye Angus. So I'm very proud of our local dram. It's actually excellent and I think underrated.
100%. With Distillery Visitor Centre on the brink.
On the brink, yes. Come on, hurry up, guys. Get it finished. It's the 200th anniversary of Glencadam and their visitor centre is not open. Get to it.
They've been talking about it for so long. It feels like ages.
Are we ready for the 300th anniversary, I reckon?
We have to raise a glass to Ian Fertito, who's just the proud daddy of a brand new little baby.
Absolutely. He's my high school classmate. His mum was my geography teacher.
No way. Well, congratulations, Ian and family.
Is it Lucas? Was the...
If it's not, I'm not going to pick it up to Lucas.
It's Lucas or Luca.
He'll be spending 18 years watching this back and he goes, my name's not Lucas. How did I get that?
If he's watching this back 18 years from now, things haven't turned out for Lucas the way we'd like them to.
They'll have made the Blether film by then. Everyone will be watching it in 18 years.
Yeah. You might be researching the 18th anniversary of the Visitor Centre.
Yeah.
They'll scrape this for AI and they'll just be making endless Friday night repeats of like AI generated whiskey chat with us and like a sort of AI Tim Powell's in the chat. The whole thing. Utterly synthetic.
That's quite scary.
We've got Jeremy watching with a 21-year-old Ardmore in the glass. That is the official distillery 21-year-old.
There's Highland Hamish. How you doing, Hamish?
We've got some of
Highland Hamish is a regular watcher.
I'm at his pal Roy's house tonight.
All right.
Yeah. Small world.
Very small. Especially in the sort of whiskey and tourism sector. You get to know everybody pretty quickly. So, yeah, that's really cool. Oh, that's 100%. Nice.
So Ali, with a name like Alistair Heather, it's about as Scottish a name as you can get, right?
Yeah, no, so I got asked on air on Off the Ball, is that a pen name? Did I make this up to sound more Scottish? And obviously I didn't. But an old friend of mine who's from Ireland used to call me Tam McThistle because they said it's the only name more Scottish than Alistair Heather, which I really like. But no, it's just like we grew up in Angus, quite a traditional family and all that. But the name Heather actually comes from a more distant side of the family. Like I've got New Zealand relations, so it comes through there. I've got family still out there that are Heathers. So it does sound a little bit ridiculous, but I suppose it suits whiskey.
It does. I feel like if I wrote a storybook about like a Scottish character, like Alistair Heather, sounds like it would be like the lead kind of role. Alistair Heather and sort of Morag thistles went off to chase the haggis.
Yeah, I should go. I should really be dating Katie Morag.
Oh, you should, but she's like, well, she's probably at her right age by now, but I think she's about like 7 in the books.
She was young when I was young.
There is such lovely books, though. Such lovely books. I love Katie Morag. There's not enough famous redheads out there. Or Merida. You could date Merida. Although from the film, she's half the boys. She's not keen. It's great, though. So you are a historian. I was telling my son tonight that I was speaking to a historian, and he was like, what is that? I was like, well, what word's in the name? He's like, history. He's like, what, just some bloke that talks about history all the time? I'm like, well, if you're going to sum it up as that, then...
The modern world's a strange place, son. So historian, I studied history as my undergrad. I've always worked in writing and in kind of TV and that kind of thing. And I did my master's in COVID. Did my master's in public history at Dundee Uni, which is very much looking at how to research properly and do quality academic history, but find a way to communicate that to different publics. So that's through like history magazines, through proper academic history, but also through more kind of popular means like documentary making, through blogging, and through social media. And at the same time, I managed to get a gig presenting Dundee United's COVID coverage. So that was loads of kind of video creation and that kind of thing. And off the back of COVID, finished my master's, and I've just decided that history is the thing I love most. So I'll just dig into that. So historian, sort of, in that the only proper historians who deserve the title are working in university, research libraries, and are at the coalface day in, day out. I don't have the privilege to be doing that just yet, but I spend a lot of my time doing history. And the master's is the thing that obviously got you guys inviting me here tonight. I did my master's in the illicit whiskey trade in rural Angus, which is where I grew up, and is a part of the whiskey, I think the whiskey geography that's under-researched because it doesn't have a big industry today. So Speyside has a great big whiskey industry today. So there's loads of people that are happy to put some money, loads of like industrial players who are willing to put some money into a bit of research to elaborate their brand story or to give them something to say in their distillery visitor centre. Similar in Islay, like there's good research goes on about there because there's money there. Angus, because there is just Glencadam, which is a relatively small distillery in the grand scheme, owned by Dundee and Angus Distillers, there's not the romance or budget for big studies. So it was quite an unknown location. I didn't know what I'd find when I went to dig into the resources. But I found great stories pouring out of Angus, and some sadder ones too.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's 200 years old this year. And when people talk about Glencadam, I don't think they realise that. I think it's quite a new, in terms of single malt brand, in that kind of market. And it's always been a packing distillery for blends and that. But was a brand and a project in its own right. People kind of think it's quite new. So it's... 200 years old. It's there amongst your oldest distilleries around about that 1823 kind of period, isn't it? So
very much so. And it has a similar background in that the whole area had a strong tradition of illicit distilling right up until then. And Glencadam grew out of the illicit distilling operated on a community model. So everyone in the community would pay in to get the copper to make the still, because that was an expensive investment. And no one sort of peasant, really, no one cotter could afford to build that themselves. So everyone had to take the financial risk of making it. And the same when someone did get arrested by the excise and jailed, the whole community would raise the funds for their release. So it was a very much a community endeavour. And when Glencadam came on the scene, it was a similar thing. It wasn't, this is just going from memory, but a lot of the distilleries in Angus, like Glencadam when they were first founded, weren't founded by some big financier saying there's money to be made here. It was a farmers' cooperative. Loads of people bought into it. They pooled their money, they pooled their resources to get the cooperage, to get the bigger stills, and to get the trade moving through, because everyone wanted to turn their barley into whiskey to make that extra profit. But not everyone had no one independent person could do it. So the whole thing emerged from collaboration and from community. And I think that's the story for most distilleries of that era. More modern distilleries, totally different story. But 1825, that's emerging from a peasant society looking to find a way to survive in the capitalist age, and like using it like a traditional product, whiskey, to find a way to keep making the rent and to keep making a dent. And I think I am always so amazed that when I go and look back at these sources of properly barefoot, bare-arsed folk in the Angus Glens struggling to make a living, that they're making a little bit of whiskey to make a little bit of money to pay the rent. That has gone on to the global industry of the Diageos, of the Harrison Ford ads in New York. Like, it all comes from this very real, very folk source. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, very humble beginnings, isn't it?
It is. I haven't really ever thought about that. I've always thought of the farming connection because I was farming for 10 years before I moved into whiskey, and it's always been so closely related. Even now, like throughout the year, the sort of farming calendar year, all your big days would then usually end up with a couple of drams at the end of the day, whether it was the big gathering days, with neighbouring, especially up in Sutherland, all the sheep were quite free ranging, so you would just gather any sheep that was there, bring it all in, sort them out in their keel marks, and then you divvy them up, and it'd usually be done with a dram at the end of the day. So I've always loved that connection between farming and whiskey. But I've never really thought as far back as literally people just kind of using, like, yeah, as you said, like bare feet, bare arse, and it's just gone on to be the massive global industry that we have today. It's insane that some of these brands started in little glens and now, like, they're drank all around the world. It's very, very
the beauty is that it's never left. When you are in Angus now, similar to Fife, it's all barley fields for the whiskey. And the old days, the barley would have been unsophisticated beer barley. Apologies to Alistair for mistaking it on a Fife story last year.
I was just reading this. This is amazing.
That rings a very vague bell. That rings a bell. Yeah, I was suited and booted and leading some MPs, they were, around the Outer Hebrides to study Scotland's indigenous languages for a Westminster report. Sorry, I've got a whiplash from that comment. Ali fall off his chair. I just about fell off my chair when David typed that. I was going to Harris Distillery. You're absolutely right. It was a great and worthwhile visit.
So we had David on a few weeks back. Where's his book? I had his book here just a second ago. There we go.
You did talk him with a handful of books.
Yeah. This is the book I'm on to now. There's the Whiskyopolis.
Is that Campbellton?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fascinating.
The rise and fall and resurgence, so it's well worth picking up.
I'd love to read that. Yeah, I was just down in Campbellton recently. Oh, nice! Everyone's got a copy.
It's actually holding up my laptop. No offense, David, but it's a good size for it. But I'm also reading it.
I was just down visiting the independent bottlers down there, who are originally from Aberdeen. Their name escapes me. Cadenhead, and they've got a new sort of tasting experience in a new dramming shed. It is phenomenal. So I take like kind of higher end visitors around different spots as an occasional gig, and that is somewhere I'll be taking people back again and again. Cadenheads have done something really good down there.
Who showed you around? Just because I got a pal that works there, just wondering.
Yeah, McLean.
It's Sophia. I know Sophia. She's my pal.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
Class.
Yeah. She used to work up in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Very recently. Was it just the end of this last year she went down? The beginning of this year? Because she was still with Aberdeen.
I think it was beginning of this year. Yeah. But
if you guys know when Sophia McLean moved down to Campbellton, put it in the comments. Also, if you can name Ian for Teeth's newborn baby, put it in the comments.
I'm sure it's Lucas.
But something on the Angus Connection, something that I thought was really interesting was an outsider. So a lot of my sources were actually ministers in Brechin and Ochterhouse in the 1800s who were writing about their own childhood memories of the trade, or writing the Ochterhouse minister in the later 1800s went around gathering folklore and oral history from the people that remembered it. Mm-hmm. But the one that I thought was most eye-opening was actually written by, I think, an Australian academic, and he was looking at stories of survival, the stories that emerge from dying communities around the world. And when communities feel themselves to be at their lowest ebb and feel themselves to be losing on every front and their very culture collapsing, they come up with narratives of resistance. And he used whiskey stories from Angus as part of those narratives of resistance, saying people tell themselves stories of their own plucky fights against the all-conquering incomer as a way to kind of make more bearable their own defeat. So in Angus, he saw that emerge as the poor tenants of Dalnammer or Forter, way up in the Angus Glens, outsmarting the excise, dodging the excise men, and sometimes beating them up, sometimes evading them through smart. So being physically more powerful and being mentally more adroit. And what he was saying is, none of this really happened the way they said it did. They were telling themselves these stories so they didn't feel the bitterness of defeat as powerfully. And he just treated us as one of a number of indigenous communities being forced out of existence. And when I reread the Angus whiskey stories through that lens, it really helped the whole truth of the thing emerge. And that is, the whiskey industry in Angus was tiny when it was illegal. It was the poorest people, miserable wretches, a diarist described them as when they were passing through Angus. People that couldn't afford to clothe themselves, people that couldn't afford to feed their own kids. They were driven to the need to produce illicit whiskey to try and survive in the very last days of their culture and community. And I think that is such an interesting rereading of whiskey heritage in the Northeast in particular.
I know that it's really interesting.
I feel that kind of resonates a little bit all around Scotland, doesn't it, in our history and our fight against the tyrannical English, I suppose, as the outside world sees us. And a lot of it, you can imagine, will be these stories have come up about how we evaded, paying tax or battles, or the ones we won. We don't talk too much about the ones we didn't win.
I don't think we lost any. Just went from success to success.
Yeah, and we were really unlucky.
The international European capital it is today.
I think it's
Tim's asked an interesting question there. Did the process encompass the whole of the UK? Scotland and Ireland must surely have had the same in England with grain-based distillation. So hand on heart, Tim, I don't know the answer to that. I would say the reasons that whiskey in particular was worthwhile to us in the Cabrach and rural Angus was we had really, really underdeveloped, in the 1700s, we had really, really underdeveloped infrastructure. So getting grain to market was a very expensive procedure. To get, say, rural Angus down to your likes of Forfar or Dundee or Montrose, it was extremely expensive, so you'd lose a lot of money in the transit. So if you could turn your barley into whiskey on the spot, you could easily take the whiskey to market because it's much smaller, it's much more compact. So Scotland had the real need to make their barley more concentrated, effectively, to get it to market and to add value. England had a far more developed system of roads from the 1600s through the early 1700s. So it was much easier for farmers to focus on their key thing, which is produce grain, and then let the market take care of itself. So I think the reason that whiskey comes from Speyside, Angus, places like that, is because it was really, really, really hard for people there to access markets.
Yeah. It would that, the next step would have been the English probably would have brewed a beer rather than distilled, then, and that would have been they wouldn't have had to go to the next stage. They had, because monks were brewing beer.
Whiskey was always seen as a poor person's drink until really it kind of, it was like the sort of when the wine industry fell on its backside after that. I can never remember the name of the beetle that destroyed all the vines, but
Phylloxera.
Yeah. But for a long time, whiskey was just seen as a sort of the poor man's drink. So I guess, in terms of like aspirational one sort of, maybe like English people wouldn't have wanted to drink what the sort of poor Scottish heathens were drinking up in the glens anyway. So maybe wouldn't have had the same relevance down south.
I think whiskey wouldn't have had the same attraction. And I suppose it was gin took off in England, but I wonder, they must have had, I think barley wine was a big thing in England, but really it's not my area, I'm afraid. In terms of that, in terms of the elite level drinking it, I had a great day in the Highland Archives recently in Inverness, and I was going through the Butler's book for this. So that was the Butler's incomings and outgoings of all the booze in Novar House in 1792. So it's a really wealthy aristocrat kind of outside the Dingwall. And it was recording everything that came in, everything went out. And there's loads of port, brandy, claret, Burgundy, Madeira, all this lovely stuff. And there was whiskey, which I presume was like Ferrintosh or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
A legal distiller of kind of approved whiskey. But then there was another entry for Mountain. And Mountain just seems to be their local nickname for dodgy whiskey for the glens at the back. What was really interesting, and there's much more room for research on this, but like on my one day, what the butler also recorded is who was being gifted what. So the butler would record, like, you'd give to a lady, you'd give a load of claret, Like, so if a local lady was celebrating a birthday or having an event, then the house, a Novar house, would send her claret for her birthday. But the mountain got given to the upper class of the servants. So like your finest servants around the house would get a bottle of mountain. But I think if I do a bit more digging into Butler's books, I can get a sense of who exactly each drink was for. But certainly it was all in the pantry together, you know.
That sounds like a tradition that needs to come back, you know, when the landowners or the homeowner, you know, the aristocracy, when I get my birthday, they give me a bottle. Instead of expecting my friends to go out and buy something for me, I think it should come from the state.
The landed gentry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
I used to get a brace of pheasant now and again working for estates, but I never got a bottle of whiskey. So
We'll have to get onto Lord Aberdeenshire and get that sorted.
yeah, I mean, talking about your going through the records, I've been listening back to. I know we keep plugging this every single week by accident, but we've been listening back to Dave Broom and Arthur doing their what are they
Liquid
called?
Antiquarian.
Yes. It's because I'm scared to sing it out loud because I think I'm going to say it wrong. And they've been going back to the record books of like sort of housekeep because they've been trying to show that whiskey's been matured in casks for like longer than we thought it had been. And a lot of that is they're just finding evidence of like obviously the sort of you know, the pantry records of like what's bought for the house, and sort of the good table whiskey was stuff that had been kept inside the casks for longer. So yeah.
Interesting.
It is. So they did both episodes are now out on YouTube. So not that I'm saying to people you should go and watch that. You obviously stick to the end of this, guys. But yeah, it's similar to what you were just yeah. Nobody's leaving until somebody falls off their seat. All right, guys.
That was I was very lucky. I got invited down to Diageo's Whiskey Archive. You guys heard of that?
Oh yeah,
yes.
That's cool.
So cool. And so the historian there was showing me through some of the record books for Lagavulin. Pretty sure it was Lagavulin. And it was the early days of ordering when folk were sending their casks to Lagavulin for them to be filled. And Lagavulin was keeping a note of what was in the cask prior and what the impacts of the cask were. So they were getting loads of sherry casks because apparently Aberdeen, Scotland just had like a dozen sherry casks kicking about the house. So you send your sherry cask. So Lagavulin in sherry is at least like 150 years old, which I think is just great. But also there was all sorts like brandy. There was various different types of wine, and there's also just plain like new fill casks. And I wonder, I didn't see any cider casks for your questioner. I didn't see that. It's not to say it wasn't there, but the idea that what Lagavulin, what they couldn't tell me at the Whiskey Archive was how long folk would let it steep, because that's everything. Like if you get a nice Lagavulin in a nice sherry cask, you do want to leave it there for a while before it becomes really nice. But is there any evidence? Are you guys aware of any evidence that folk would age whiskey? When did that come in?
Yeah, so I can't remember the date, but so there was this there's this famous quote that everybody uses. And who was it, Mike? You watched it as well, and it was like I don't know, this is terrible. I literally just watched it the other day, but my brain is like a tatty waffle.
Are you recommending people to go and watch something else again?
No, but so this is what Dave and Arthur have like. This is what this episode's all about. It's like they've literally found a new evidence in archives that show the date that they think people started aging whiskey for, and it's earlier than what we thought it was.
Because we kind of, I mean, the official date, what was it? 1915 was the Immature Spirits Act. That's when it was written into law about the 3 years in a day kind of act. But, you know, maturation, that was kind of I think it was actually brought out to whittle out the cowboys and to put a level of quality on Scotch. So I'm not sure, but we were of course maturing well before that, but I'm not sure if it was ever it wasn't a classified, like a regulation. It must be in wood.
Yes.
Until then,
yeah. You can imagine how rotten some of that stuff was.
Jeremy's answered it for us. He must have been watching Dave and Arthur. It was 1740 was the earliest they could find record of it being kept in casks for. So that's a long old time ago.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that feels right though. That feels right. You know, there's pretty sophisticated international drinking going on at that stage. People wouldn't want just gut rot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's round about the second Jacobite rebellion. Then
it certainly is. Yeah. So 1745 was the rebellion, but by that time you did have pretty wealthy households around Scotland where. I've been reading recently the brilliant letters of Edmund Burt on his. So he was a guy that was set up from London to manage the affairs of Fort George, the big kind of British military base in the Highlands, to try and keep down the Jacobite rebellion. And he wrote a series of very entertaining and detailed letters back to his mates in England, which are a great account of the time in Scotland. And one thing he's like, no matter where you turn up, whether it's a hovel in the Highlands with a thatched roof and the worst food you've ever seen, or the grandest house, they've all got a huge cask of really fine wine, thanks to our trade connections with France. Yeah. And whiskey was being consumed all over the place. And he didn't acknowledge it, but the idea that you have these huge wine casks and you have all this raw whiskey, surely someone would have brought it together.
You think so? We were pretty canny, savvy folk. If we had something lying around, we would definitely have been using it for something else. There's just no way.
But the kind of the acknowledgement is it was used for transport or storage rather than maturation. Was it? And then if it was left in the cask long enough, then it's obviously going to change. But whether it ever was in some of these upheavals, it was maybe not left in long enough to have the full impact.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the Highland Archives and I'm going to do some more digging. I'm going to come back and fill you in.
Yeah, definitely. They will do a end of year catch up. What Ali found out.
God, I can't wait to see the single viewer that comes back for that.
Definitely thing.
I was going to say, were you a whiskey drinker before you started presenting for Dundee United, or was it that experience that drove you to it?
Are you talking about the fourth best team in Scotland there, Mike? We are going to Europe, baby. We are giant-killing tangerine terrors of Tannadice. I don't hear a bad word said about us. The whiskey thing, for me, I presume it's like most of our whiskey journeys. Like my granny, I must be of the last generation where my granny would put a little bit of whiskey on my gums when I was teething. Like that, they must be putting a stop to that, social work or somebody. But so whiskey was always in the house, but it was always quite ceremonial. And it wasn't until, drinking in Carnoustie and things, you would go the half and half, pretty normal. You'd get a wee nip of whiskey and you'd get your pint. But it was always like Cameron Brig, just like a single grain, kind of like slightly fire water, but actually pretty palatable. Like nothing wrong with a Cameron Brig. But it wasn't until maybe I just started earning a wee bit more money and could afford just getting single malts and just trying them out and experiencing them, and then getting into the history behind it. I got more into like experiencing different single malts, different blends, the different stories of the malts, and the different unbelievably beautiful locations you get to visit when you go to the distilleries. Like we only put them in stunning places. It's class. Well, no, we're building Falkirk now, but mostly they're all stunning.
They are. They're all so beautiful. That's the other thing I love about distilleries as well. Like I never got bored of going to see another one because the story is always so different. And I know we've got brand teams behind the scenes that are choosing the best bits of history and helping build the story around about it. But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. They've been around for 200 years. So of course, they're going to have a rich history in there, and you can only cherry pick bits to tell people. So yeah, absolutely love it. And the fact that I know terroir divides people. I'm going to say it aloud because I know half the guys watching are not going to agree with me, but there's something very unique about where a distillery is. That does play into what the whiskey tastes like, I think.
100%. Yeah. I don't think it's to the same level as wine, for example.
Definitely not.
But it does play. If you pick up Glenglassaugh and plonk it in the middle of Glasgow, you're not going to get the same spirit.
I am totally sure of that. And also, I do think you get different cultures of people that make it. Like the folk in Islay are so embedded in the whiskey industry and so embedded in their way of doing things that they'll have their style, and that will impact what they produce. Like they'll have an idea of what the right fermentation is. They'll have an idea of the right kind of storage and that kind of thing. And I just think that will feed through into the dram. Yeah, no, I do agree with that. And also just like the different still sizes has such a pronounced impact.
Yeah.
Like near where I am, you guys will know Fetter Cairn has those like cooling rings on the outside and the really tall stills. It just is so gentle and smooth. Like there's nothing like it. Like you get like a really high proof Fetter Cairn and it's still unbelievably smooth. Compare and contrast that to Whiskyopolis and like those big oily drams. They taste just totally dissimilar. And I don't know if you'd call that terroir, but it's certainly. Yeah, I can only say it with a certain Gallic flair.
Well, now that you've thrown that out, we can't mention it any other way. We have to.
Done now, yeah. Well, we just have to get you back on every time we say it now. I don't know if I could do it with such flair.
Well, we'll have to do a sound button.
Yes. I would love it if our technology was up to that scratch, but we can't even get the fade in on the video.
We're lucky we get on a screen.
Shell shocked at the end of your own introduction.
Every time we get surprised by it, it's just like, whoa, we're on.
We're live. Last week it didn't even work. Last week.
I'm seeing Dave Farquharson was down with Sophie on 8th of January as well. Dave, did you get the full cask experience in that sort of new space they've set up? I think it's really cool. It feels so like villagey because it's like just in another building. You have like leave the distillery, wander across the road, and go into what I think is an old mechanics workshop. And in there they just have like 10 grand's worth of beautiful cask whiskey, and it's just open and it's so casual, and folk are walking by waving for the street. Like Campbelltown feels like the right place for this, like for a real whiskey visitor experience. Like I really rate it. And at the minute, it doesn't do the big whiskey experience numbers, does it?
I think in pockets it does. Springbank is obviously just phenomenally popular at the moment. It's, as soon as it's on the shelf, it's sold, and it can't keep up really with demand. Glen Scotia is probably, in terms of liquid, my favourite of the three. They do have a soft spot for Ian McAllister, and I think the great excuse to open it while I'm big enough. But while they're they are growing, and there are some distilleries kind of working on the popularity at the moment and saying, why is there still just three in this hugely popular region that used to house, it was mid-30s or something. With distilleries in one town.
Too many. That's like loads.
We'll get to that level again, But there's not much else going about in Campbelltown. Everyone you speak to in Campbelltown are like, well, if it wasn't for the whiskey, what would we have?
I think it's one of those areas that kind of it didn't get run down, because that's a horrible thing to say, but I think that people moved away from it, and I think it suffered a little bit. But you can definitely see it coming back, and that's the West Coast as well, though. You see it all around the West Coast of just people having to move further and further away for work and not necessarily coming back, and then that leads on to the next generation. And I think it maybe happened a little bit with Campbelltown. I lived in the West Coast for ages. I never went, and I finally went back a couple of years ago. And I can't remember who said it. Oh, it was Mark Watt that said he doesn't like when people say it's quite hard, like quite far away and quite hard to get to. But it is quite far away. It's quite a long road down to Campbelltown. So yeah, potentially all just kind of small bits led to the bigger picture, but it's fantastic.
Someone saying that Campbelltown is not far away. Campbelltown is unbelievably, like I drove there for Dundee recently, and it was mental. I feel like I passed Wales, I passed Cornwall, I passed Brittany to get far enough to get to Campbelltown.
I was the same.
Across the equator and back again.
I got to Oban and I was like, right, awesome. Oh my God, there's still like 2 hours away to get to Campbelltown. But
it's a body drive, like no question.
It's the most beautiful. So I went down I've driven down twice. I flew to Islay from from Glasgow was the other trip I did down. I took in Campbelltown, but from Aberdeen, if you go through Pitlock, rather than go down the A90 to Perth and take the Glasgow road, if you go through Pitlochry, through Braemar, Deeside to Pitlochry, and then over to Oban and down, you won't get a better road in the country than that. I think you get everything from the green rolling hills of Aberdeenshire to the Cairngorms to the rugged west and everything in between. It's just...
You're absolutely bang on. That would be so stunning. And that would be actually one of the great whiskey routes as well. You'd pass a few decent drams on your way.
Absolutely.
Like
unfortunately, I was driving, so I had to pass them. Stuff.
No, I think we can all agree. I think consensus is Campbelltown. Nice but far. Can we say that?
Yeah, nice but far.
Nice but far.
I like Callum's comment here. He said he's a Campbelltown
Campbelltonian. I like that. Yeah.
A blue tune. No, it's not a wee tuner. He said he moved away and it suffered.
Well, that's what it is. Everyone left like that. We're not sticking around now.
It just shows it didn't have much going for it at the start.
Yeah, if one single rent and leaving can cause the place a societal collapse. Campbelltown is not very far from Tarbert. Good point, Petehead. Good point.
I mean, yeah. Even then, you think you get to Tarbert, you're there, but you've still got a bit of a drive.
Yeah, no, I did fly down to Campbelltown, and that does make the whole thing just a lot more tolerable.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And there's so much to do when you get there, because you can walk across to the island. What's it called? Dvar
Island, yeah.
Yeah, you can go and find Jesus, not figured like, painted in the cave, not like, within. And then...
That's where he's been all this time. Keeps missing the tide. That's why he hasn't come back.
Yeah. And then you can go out to Gia, which is one of the prettiest places I've ever been. It's just such an awesome part of the world. And so it's so good to see it all kind of being sort of regenerated and revived. And the Whisky Festival draws in a huge crowd, isn't it? I think it's like a mecca for whiskey geeks. If you haven't done Campbelltown, then you don't know whiskey.
I think we got extremely lucky. Like the weather, they had it in the middle of a heat wave this year, and it just looked so cracking. I was actually down the week before the Whisky Festival, and I was kicking myself. Like, why didn't I just come a week later? But it was no. I think you're talking about Glen Scotia being one of your like sort of favourites down there. The Glen Scotia 15 is me and my partner's like anniversary dram. We got a bottle of it, and we just get it out because it's like, first of all, it's a really tremendous whiskey and it really hits both our palates perfectly. But also, it's just like that was one of the first ones we had when we got together, when we were dating and things like that. And it just, I think it's a dram that can sustain that kind of pressure. When you get a special, uncork it very rarely, and have just a small dram of it together, there's enough complexity and there's enough kind of quality there to sustain that. Like Glen Scotia is doing something really good, I think.
Yeah. Ian is a bit of a wizard when it comes to making whiskey. I think it's such a cool little distillery. The visitor centre is literally like smaller than the inside of your shoe. It's so teeny, but it's really lovely. It's just so like full of character. Love it.
I believe I did the Glen Scotia tour with today's guest back in November. Is the chat just folk I've hung about with previously? Because this is class.
I think so.
Well, so you say that as well, but a pal of mine messaged me just before we went live and said, ask Ali if he still goes to the trad sessions in Aberdeen, because he thinks, did you study at Aberdeen at all?
Yeah, I used to go to trad sessions in Aberdeen all the time.
Yeah, so my pal Elliot was in the year below you at university, so he used to go to them as well. He played I don't know what he played. He played a Scotch drum thing.
Did he play the Baran?
Yes.
I don't cast aspersions here, but is Elliot ginger?
He's very ginger. Very, very ginger.
I remember him well. I'll give him my best. Oh, this is like a sort of high school reunion, but for just folk.
I love it. That's so funny. I'll tell him. He comes up to help. So I work at Glengeary. Take a drink, guys, if you're playing the Glengeary game. And so he comes up to help with the tours. So obviously he's a solicitor now. Yeah, but every now and again when we're struggling for staff, he'll come up and help out. So yeah, he's a good pal of mine.
Aberdeen
He's a
is
lovely
so
lad.
like, so I live in Dundee now, and Dundee is a great city to live in. But the thing I miss most about Aberdeen, amongst loads of things, because Aberdeen is a great city, was the fact that every night of the week, a good pub in Aberdeen has an excellent folk session on. And you can go and enjoy the crack, enjoy the music, join in with a couple of tunes. Elliot will tell you how stinking I was at the fiddle, but join in for a couple of tunes. And it's not like a huge bevy culture, so you're not expected to go and have 10 pints every time. Bless you. Like it's proper, it's the folk scene in that everyone is there, is treated absolutely equally. You got folk there that have toured the world with their music, and you got folk that are just picking it up for the first time, and everyone's made welcome. It feels good. The tunes are great. And Aberdeen's great advantage is it is where the Shetland ferry gets in. So you've always got a handful of Shetland fiddlers playing amazing world-class fiddle tunes. I love Aberdeen, man.
Yeah.
It's fantastic because I saw, obviously, I've kind of got to know you through your socials. I saw, like, obviously, Hidden History, which is very cool. But I saw you like your trad bands as well. So I do love my trad music. Did you go up to Skye for the festival?
For Sky Live? I didn't go this year. I went to the Reeling this summer.
I went there last year because I saw Nightwork's last gig at the Reeling, which broke my heart. But yeah, it was a great festival. It was the first time I've done it.
Yeah, it's a great festival. It's really that's something I enjoyed out. I wonder, was anyone in the chat across at Isla Whisky Festival this last year or the year before?
There will have been.
Oh, which bars would you recommend for the music nights in Aberdeen? I really like the Prince of Wales. I thought that was there was just like there's enough space there to really get a session going. And Blackfriars is always good. So yeah, like Prince of Wales and Blackfriars are ones I loved. And then I don't know if the session's still going, but when I was there, we started a new session in the Macher, which is this amazing whiskey bar. Like Mike's nodding his head, you're nodding your head, Kat. You guys know the Macher, yeah? Yes. I don't know if that's known outside, because you are northeasty. I don't know if the folk in the comments, if you're in Aberdeen, I demand that you go to Old Aberdeen onto the campus of where the university is. First of all, it's a gorgeous historic campus for the uni, properly stunning. And there is a tiny wee bar with a massive whiskey selection, which had, I don't know if they still do, I think it was a Thursday night they had a folk session meet up in there. But it's just a great vibe. And like Aberdeen was such a friendly place to study that when we finished our modules, certain lecturers would take us to the Macher for a quick dram to say, well done on passing your module. Like, it's such a good place.
I didn't get those lectures. I should have done history, not politics. A waste of my life.
Yeah, God. Politics. Boring and scary. A terrible combination.
Yeah, look at me now, sitting drinking whiskey on a Thursday night.
I didn't do either, and I'm still sitting here drinking whiskey, so, you know.
It's true.
Where did you study, Kat?
Aberdeen.
Oh, just great. Such a good city.
It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful university as well. It's like literally like Hogwarts at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
See, Big Louise is also an Aberdeen alumnus, I think is the singular.
She is, and she's a whiskey shop colleague. Hi, Louise. Nice to see you on. And she's also like a super brain philosopher. I don't know. She's done a lot of studying. Like you're like
studied philosophy.
Yeah, but like for forever. Like she must have like loads of degrees, I think. She's very clever.
The thing about philosophy, I don't think you can ever finish studying it. There's not like an answer. There's not like that you get to the end of it and think, right, I know philosophy. I think it's
yes. I have considered the human, the essence of humanity.
I now know the answer. Move on.
47, I think, is the answer.
Yeah.
42, is it 42?
42. I'm pretty sure it's 42.
I think it's 42, yeah.
Callum Lennon, best bit about Aberdeen is the A90 South back to civilization. He's not in Campbellton, and he's having to go to civilization.
Exactly. Callum, sit down before you follow.
Sort yourself out. You literally put our face in a mug. How dare you? How dare you?
No, if he's talking about A90 South back to civilization being Angus, I'm with you, Callum.
You've got to pass through somewhere to get somewhere better, so you know. Talking of Isla, obviously I don't stalk you on social media. I do follow other people also, but it does just sound like I'm stalking social media. But you were out on Isla because I was very jealous. I was out there 2 weeks beforehand, before the festival, helping Bamor and Lefroy get set up. But you obviously got to go out for the festival. So was that work? Was it pleasure? Was it a bit of the both?
It was completely work. I couldn't afford to go to the Fèis Ile without being heavily subsidised by Diageo. So for the last couple of years, I've been lucky enough to get flown out to host the stages. So Lagavulin and Kalila both do whiskey days as part of the festival, and them and a number of other ones. For those that haven't been, I'm just summarising. I know you guys will know all about this, but they put on stages, right? Like good quality stages, but with amazing sound quality, like proper money spent. But for crowds of between 400 people to 1,000 people, you'd say, would gather around the stage. But they get the best bands in Scotland over to play. So you get like Manran, who recently sold out the Carnegie Hall in New York, who sell out 14,000 tickets for Hoolie and the Hydro in December. And they're there playing for you in Isla, in the beautiful sunshine, down by the water, outside the distillery. Everyone gets a dram. And all I've got to do is, I'm the host for the day. So I welcome folk in. But then the bands each play 45-minute sets. And then there's a 15-minute changeover while the sound guys are swapping microphones and swapping guitars and things. And I've got to basically find some entertainment for that period. And so the things you do are like, you get people to volunteer their mates for a blindfold whiskey taste test. And you line up a bunch of drams, and you say, here's the 5 drams you're going to try, and you got to try and figure out what it is you're tasting. And the surprise of that one was I put in a dram of White Horse blended whiskey. Yeah. People loved it. People really rated it. Like in a blindfold taste test, people thought it was a decent dram, which surprised me. But things like that, and you get it's a music and whiskey festival. So I'd get like Campbelltonian bagpipers to talk on mic about the traditions, how the culture emerges, how they learned it, what a pibroch is, the process of playing together, playing as part of a band, and just trying to make sure that everyone that comes out to Isla comes away with a good knowledge of the drams, but also a sense of where they've been and the cultural richness of the place they are. And it is tremendous crack. And Peahead, Ali, I think we shared a breakfast table during this year's Fèis. This is unreal.
Can anyone who's watching who hasn't met Ali just raise a hand?
I saw Aidan checked in. He is a producer for BBC Scotland who got me on Radio Scotland this morning to discuss gig ticket prices. It's a funny gang we got here tonight.
Brilliant. Did you name drop us in your Radio Scotland gig?
I did not. I neglected to. They were talking about the price of gig tickets, and I didn't think a YouTube live about drams fitted to that audience.
You know,
I should have.
Free entertainment. You know,
free
price
yeah.
free. You know, next time.
So you're very good health, Head. I'll see you at next year's Fèis for breakfast.
I'll be there actually. If you're out next year, I'm heading over with Elliot. Me and Elliot are doing the festival next year.
Oh, are you actually getting to do the festival, or are you just doing all the prep work again?
No, I'm taking time off. I've worked for Santoni for 7 years and still never got to the festival, so I'm booking my holidays now. I'm going. I'll still go over and help.
Liam has it bang on. The Fèis setup is one of the best I've seen. Every distillery gets their one-day spotlight, and it is, I don't know, which one is it? Bruch Laddie famously have the party day, where it is a different vibe. So it's very much, in my experience, and this isn't everyone's experience, much less about the whiskey, much less about the sort of different drammings and that kind of thing. And it's just playing some banging back-to-back great music that you would never see in Isla were it not for a whiskey festival. And you see all the Isla young team out, all the 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are on a like disconnected Hebridean island, and they can't believe they're alive. It's Glastonbury for them. So the vibe you get.
I remember, I just talking about the connection that whiskey has, or the draw that whiskey has to some of these big bands. We used to do, or Glenfiddich used to run a festival for the trade up in Dufftown. It was all about September, end of August, early September every year. Mark Thompson was behind it. and it was a free festival for bartenders, publicans and shop owners and things like that. It was kind of a wee thank you. It was a Sunday night you arrived. It was a Monday, Tuesday festival because obviously we're all busy at the weekend. And the bands they got, it was like 4 years, I think they ran. Twin Atlantic played every year. They were the resident Monday night band. We had Franz Ferdinand. We had Razorlight. We had who sung Chelsea Dagger?
Fratellis?
Fratellis, yeah. Outstanding, massive bands. These guys have sold out arenas and they're playing to like 500 people in a tent because of the pool of Glenfiddich. It was phenomenal. Such a cool.
Yeah. No, I think it is. What I would say is a great mark of all these bands, like Trail West and things like that, that they still give it absolute stacks. Like they still absolutely give it the beans on stage. They give it a great show. They love being there. They're delighted to be there. It's great stuff. Like it really is. So I'll see Peterhead and things next year. I see what you're saying, Peterhead, in the comments about Bruch Laddie coming a wee bit too commercial. Like I know what you mean. But you can't take away from all those young folk that are having the time of their lives. Like for the rest of us, we get to go and geek out. Lagavulin Day is a different sort of day. That's all about the whiskey. It's all about the different drams. There's great fun to be had, amazing food, great music, but Lagavulin puts so much effort into their experiences and into their whiskies that you get at the Fèis. You can go and enjoy that,
I think when you have to play to your audience, and if there's a lot of Bruch Laddie is, for me, it comes across as a little bit like the Brewdog of whiskey. It likes to do things a bit different, and it's a little bit punky with its branding and its marketing and that, and it kind of has that following. So that it has that kind of crowd, and yes, music and that kind of fits that. And if that's not your thing, I mean, walk 10 yards and you'll find another place to go that is on Isla. It's mental.
Yeah,
David Muir has just said that you threw that dram down like a shot in Benidorm.
So I saw that and I poured a tiny dram, and I've literally been drinking tea in between, David. So sit yourself back down.
I mean, Dave's getting on a bit. Maybe is how he drinks a shot in Benidorm.
No one's policing that whiskey.
I know, right?
Ryan,
I was going to say,
is Ryan Fate Angus? Because Ryan's saying, haven't you met the, like, Ryan's the one guy in the call that I haven't spoke to before.
He probably lives next door.
Yeah. No, because you should hang out. There's barely anybody else here, so we just
Go around chap Ian for tea store.
And I
was just going to say, with the whole festival as well. Obviously, like, all the days are fantastic. And I love that you go out there to actually talk about sort of history and the kind of relevance of the festival as well, because I think it sometimes gets lost in just like, so many people just go over and it's all about like, I want to buy the distillery exclusives, and like people are queuing and stuff, and sometimes the sort of origins of the festival gets a little bit lost, because it was just like a village fete to begin with. So I love that you kind of bring that back in, bits of that back in,
history.
Because the other part of that is
last year or 2 years ago, there's a big pushback against the whiskey side of things, and they're like, we want to do more music, we want to do more book because the book festival in Isla's like either the week before or the week after it runs. I think there's a crossover there as well, and they felt that was getting lost because everyone was booking everything up for the whiskey.
Like, I totally hear that, and I think the sensible thing, because I was brought into because my interest is absolutely in whiskey as a standalone thing, but very much my passions are for history, for culture, for music, and for bringing out oral history, social history. And when you do that, when you make it an event that all the locals want to come to, all your international visitors, all of us drammers for the mainland, we get to meet Isla folk, Ilachs, and their chat is phenomenal. They've all lived there, they've all worked there, they've all seen the industry bloom and collapse, and they've been through it all. And the more of them you have in the festival, eating the street food, enjoying the dram, enjoying the tunes, the better a time everyone has, because they are part of the terroir of the whiskey.
They are. And you know, they work so hard. So like I went out to help just for 3 days, 2 weeks beforehand. And honestly, like all the visitor centre staff, and everybody knows I'm a massive advocate for all the VC staff out there. You know, they are doing so much work to prep for this festival, and we're like, they're fitting that in around by their day jobs. So like they're still doing all their tours and, you know, their tastings and stuff, and then they'll close up the visitor centre and they'll put in like another 4 or 5 hours, you know, in the evenings, and like it's insane how much work they do just to get ready. I literally put lanyards on like thousands of glass. I spent the whole day at Lefroy putting feckin' lanyards on glass. And they were just so grateful for it, just because like, oh, that's great, you know, we would have been in here like until like 10, 11 o'clock every night for this week if you hadn't done that. So it's like it's behind the scenes stuff as well. So yes, okay, it's, you know, there's big bands and okay, it might be a bit commercialized sometimes, but it's a lot of hard work, and a lot of it is people are just catering to what the people are wanting as well. So yeah, big up to the VC teams out there. It's an amazing what they do.
Me and Petehead promised to really appreciate our glasses on lanyards next year.
You should. It's not as easy as it looks.
Most places. Anyway, I only thought this would take. I'd only thought of chatting to you guys for an hour, and my girlfriend is giving me a bit of a glower because I said,
I can't believe we're at an hour already. They'll be wanting
I know. This is great fun. I can't wait to come back to my Highland Archive research.
I mean, we barely touched on Angus illegal distilling or illicit distilling.
I know. It's because everyone bloody knows you. We're just getting through your wee fan club, to be honest.
Well, I'll just, next time I see Ryan and Angus, next time I see Petehead for breakfast, next time I see who's the guy that I would met on the flight to Campbelltown or something. Next time I see
Dave on the ferry. Yeah,
Dave on the ferry.
Don't knock on his door. He'll think you're a Jehovah.
Angus whiskey distilling, right? I promise you that.
Do you know, we'll need to get you back on because off air we were talking about all the things we want to talk to you about your sort of archaeological dig at Lindores Abbey and everything else, and we haven't even touched on it because the chat's just gone off, which is fantastic. But we don't want to keep you from your family, and that Glen Scotia dram is going to get chucked out the window if you're not looking after your partner there. You won't get to open your anniversary dram if you're taking up their front room all night with the chat. So we will let you get away. But we'll definitely get you back on sometime soon, hopefully.
I think he's frozen.
Oh, he is. Either that or he's really pondering coming back on.
Either deep thought or his girlfriend has pulled the plug and said,
turn the internet off. Oh, no.
You're just treading water now.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh, I hated that. Absolutely hated that. I didn't know if you were gone and everyone could just see me be like, oh no. or if you guys thought that God said, that's me gone, and just hit the big off switch. Or I thought maybe my girlfriend's got it switched off the Wi-Fi so we can get
That's what we thought,
yeah. Guys, I really better go. We'll see Ali in August in Edinburgh. Great stuff.
Oh.
There you go.
He's gone again.
We will let Ali go.
That's not such a good freeze face, but we will let him go.
It's a very confused face.
His bless. Well, taking up so much of his time anyway, but does that mean you just have to put him offline?
I don't want to until he maybe come back and we'll say cheerio, but he's maybe gone. We'll wait a minute and then we'll see what happens. I can't believe that's been an hour. That's been mad.
That'll give me time to check to see who's on next week. So I know you're going to ask me, and unless you can tell me.
What you should have is, see behind your computer, you should have a whiteboard that has things Mike will ask tonight. And he is gone. I should just be more organised. It will be in the chat that I sent to you. He's back.
I've connected to my mobile phone, so my girlfriend's cyber hacking can't.
She is turning off the internet, isn't she? I love it. That's a better freeze picture now.
That's okay.
We will.
I'm gonna go while the going's good.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%. Ali.
Thank you
we'll
so
have you
much,
back
guys.
on
It's
soon.
Great fun.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course, and thanks to all the folks. all the folk watching. It was great fun. It was really good fun. Thank you for having me, and thanks for all the great chat. And I'll see you guys everywhere all the time, it seems like.
Thanks. I don't have in my diary who we've got next, but I think it's no, I know who it is. It's Diego.
Oh, awesome. He came into the shop. He was up here for the Speyside Festival. He did a tasting at the Highlander with Tatsuya about sherry. So he is, his business card, his title is the country manager in Spain. So he basically just manages Spain, which I think is a pretty awesome.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure it must be the whole of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonder he can actually fit in time on the Blether, but thank goodness. Yeah. So we've got a lot to talk about with him then. You know, how do you run a country? That was really good fun. What a great
I feel left out. I haven't met him before. Like literally everyone else has had some encounter with Ali.
I know, but like, yeah, it's such a shame that that went past so quickly. It's always a good sign of a good chat when it does go past so quickly. But there's still so much to ask him about because, yeah, what an amazing kind of font of knowledge he is about, different parts of the whiskey history. And obviously, he's connected to quite a lot of parts of the whiskey industry as it is now, whether it's the festivals, whether it's touring, whether it's, really interesting. So we'll get him back on at some point, guys, and we'll get some more questions over to him. But yeah, lots of fun.
I mean, in the meantime, if you've got any questions for us, like that is a horrendously big mug of tea. Where did you get that from? You know, questions like that.
It is quite a big mug, but I have managed to just hoof that also.
Yeah. Was that like a shot in Benidorm?
I'm not. Well, I don't even think I can't really do shots. To be honest, there's a lot of liquid to put in your mouth in one go. So so yeah, I'm not a big fan of shots.
Louise is asking what's in my glass just now. I've just put in Glendronach Handfill. This was bottled last year, at the end of last year, October last year. Oloroso Pungent, 13 years old is what I've got in there. And so we've opened it up. The last bloody questions. Callum, how's the new move going? Dave, how's the new place coming on? And Ryan, how are things going at the shop? So
see a theme there, Mike. How are things going on?
It would be cool if Ali was still on for this because you're on Lindor's there.
Because I looked it out because we were going to speak to Ali about him going to the archaeological dig at Lindor's, but we never got time. So as well looking at it.
Also have a wee Lindor's back to the Aquavite days.
Well, you were to talk about you were going to mention the Foghouse thing, weren't you? So I got chatting I follow Ali on social media, and I like to always because me and you are both history geeks, so I kind of found him through social media and realized he specialized in distillations. I thought, it'd be great, illicit distillation. It'd be great to get him on. And then he did a little post about the history of foghouses because he goes to different parts of Scotland and talks about like historical buildings and things and tradition. So I tagged you into the post about Foghouse, and then that connected you to him. He's like, "Oh, I'm going on this whiskey chat. Do you know Kat?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I go host whiskey."
I'm afraid so.
But yeah, it was a lovely kind of full circle tie-in.
It's so cool. You tag it, and I said, "This is great. We've got a brand called Foghouse." And it was, "Oh yeah, you. I see you're in Inverurie. Do you know Kat from the Inverurie whiskey shop? I'm doing a Blether." And I was like, "Oh well, yes, I do kind of know that." How are things going at the furniture is all in now. We're getting some tables finished at the moment. So all we're really waiting for is to kind of transfer the stock over. And before we do that, we need to get a few things in place. But, touch wood, we are open in the next week or so. The shop is going to be a little bit longer than that. We're waiting until the bar is open. What did arrive this week, which should be hitting the shelves soon is our next shop exclusive. So that's now in, and if you want to get your hands on that, give us a shout. We do. So we've got the photographer coming in tomorrow to do some shots before we kind of really announce it. So it is on the website. We haven't really advertised it. So if you want to sneak at that, jump on. It's a 17-year-old single cask, first full sherry, but from Gordon MacPhail of Fetter Cairn. It's a big dram. If you're a big sherry, I'm not sure if you'll like it, Kat. It's a big sherry beast.
Just lost the sale there. I'll need to try it first. I'll try it first.
Try it first. Yeah. There's a lot going on in it. I think it's 58.7%. So it's hefty, but a little bit of cutting goes a long way too. So we've got quite a lot of exciting things. We've just booked in some training for some coffee next week. So we're getting trained on coffee because our bar
training.
Yeah. Our bar, which is about, so for folk who don't know what a fog house is, which is, it's a pity we didn't get Ali to kind of talk about it as well. The fog house was kind of a structure built by the lairds of Scottish estates for a little bit of, had a clue, somewhere to go to that they could sit back and forget about the business or their estate or work or whatever was stressing them out. And that's kind of what we want the Fog House bar to be. We're not going to, we'll do events, but we're not going to, it's not going to be constantly music and TV and jukeboxes and bandits and all this. It's going to be a relatively calm and easygoing whiskey, wine, coffee bar. So we want you to come and sit down, and we're going to have a wee stock of books where you can read up on anything, really. And so that's the kind of feel we'll go for. But we have a great tasting room, which is going to be, we're going to be able to do some great events there. And so it's still going to be Inverurie Whiskey Shop, but with a bar.
It's very cool. I'm very excited for it. It's just, there's nothing in Inverurie like that just now, and it's so close to the train station. You can walk down from the train. It's very cool, and I've seen inside it so far. It's a couple of weeks ago that I last saw, but I've seen the pictures you've posted on the shop chat, and it looks absolutely amazing. Like all that dark green kind of wood, like dark wood, kind of chilled out, ethereal kind of. Yeah, I could quite happily just drink whiskey.
We've gone for that. What a vintage sherry cask whiskey would look like if it was a room.
I love your concept. As an enthusiast, I love that concept.
We've got Chesterfields, we've got Queen seats, we've got a lot of wood and staves, and we just put up some of our pictures on the wall. So here's a question for you guys. We've gone for portraits on the wall. So in terms of a whiskey room, who would you have on your wall?
I hope the chat on here goes better than when you tried that on the shop WhatsApp chat.
I know. I'm not sure that, because Louise is watching, so it could go the same way.
I loved it. Like, you just kind of gradually was like, well, that's quite a good idea, potentially. And then you're like, I wish I'd never asked that question.
Straight away, you and Christy.
Oh, yeah, you and Kirsty, we should get him on. I wonder who suggested that. Oh, it's Louise. We get you on, Louise. You could do a sort of couples portrait, like Posh and Bex. You're both sat on thrones. I love that idea. Dave wants a cat, like a picture of a cat, or a picture of me. Or me dressed as a cat. Well, that'd be weird.
Dressed as a cat.
Yeah, you are an icon, Louise. A queen and an icon.
Scott is saying, he's asking, to disrupt the icon chat. We have an IB Torvig on. What's it like? Stuart said Torvig wouldn't be selling many casks. Yeah, it's really cool. It's quite a funky 7-year-old from Thompson Brothers. We all know that Thompson Brothers aren't going to bottle it if it's not good. They do fantastic stuff. It's cool. It's good. I love the label. It's like a hark back to the old Gordon MacPhail Talisker labels with the eagle
It's
and the red and black contrast.
yeah, it's a
Um,
black bottle, isn't it? It's like a
it's a
little
black
black.
label with the red writing with a picture of an eagle on it, which is effectively how Gordon MacPhail used to sell Talisker in the
Uh,
70s, 80s, maybe early 90s.
it is very
Um,
70s kind of vibes, but it's really cool, old school.
Callum says a picture of each Blether guest. I'm not sure how big you think this place is. The Blether's been running 5 years.
Wow.
I
Unless you
did
did it
notice
like
that somebody had asked, I can't remember who, if we're going to have a summer break just before we move on. While I remember, yes, we are. I think it's going to be in 2 weeks' time for 3 weeks.
yeah, I think it's hang on. It's not my calendar. 2 seconds. It's my birthday week. I know that. So we start our holidays. So Thursday the 17th will be the last Blether. Don't ask me who's on because I can't remember. And then we're back the 7th of August.
Yeah.
So works out. That's just 2 weeks. Just over 2 weeks.
It'll be 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 Thursdays.
So summer break, but it's harder to get guests in the summertime because they're all on holidays. You guys are on holidays, and Mike's got holiday booked, and I've got a birthday coming up. So
Birthday booked.
I've got my birthday booked, so we'll have a couple of weeks off. But we'll keep you updated on social media about our return as well.
100%. We could do a Blether wall, couldn't we? Even on one of the pillars, just photos of guests or quotes from guests.
Famous weather quotes like the erotic onion and everything else. That
I mean, God, brazen much. Pick your own quote.
Well, if you thought of something clever enough to say, I've already remembered it by now, I'm sure.
I don't think of anything clever to say. I just laugh at what you say. That's pretty much all I contribute to this.
You have come out with some hilarious stuff unintentionally sometimes as well, but I keep saying I'm going to do it, and I need to devote some time to going back through the Blethers and just pick out some best bits. I like the idea of like the sort of Andy Warhol, like sort of the people's pictures, but like the bright colors behind it, like just a full Blether wall of like sort of. But that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
If we have anyone at home who wants to come up and do that for free, awesome. Well, we'll do it for whiskey.
Yeah, or you just have, I don't know, just like before you have that kind of wall of like quotes, you could just have like people can come in and like tag the wall with like because
we could do it in the back corridor. Do you know, at the car park? That corridor there could just be full of Blether quotes.
Yeah, it could be, and people could just add their own.
Or the skylight in the tasting room.
Yeah, people look up and just see sexy onion. What the hell is that then?
Yeah. Is this a tasting note or is this...
You could do that as well, like a wall of like craziest tasting notes you've ever seen. Because sometimes you read a bottle and you're like, what the hell? There's all sorts of different ideas. Well, guys, send in your ideas on the chat. What can Mike cover his walls? And we'll see if Banksy's free, just to see if he'll turn up one day and just tag your wall with something.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've quite got that reach. Yeah.
Yet. Think big. That'll be exciting. Excited to see it open. It's going to be really, really good fun. All the Blether and come up and see the new bar.
We were watching. We were doing wine training last night, which was cool. And another reason why I love my job is last night I got to sample 13 wines that I'd never tried before. And I'm not going to brag because I'm not a wine connoisseur or anything, but every single one of them tasted really nice. It got to the stage where each one was getting better. This is my favorite. Oh no, this is my favorite. Oh no, this is my favorite. We've all been there in a whiskey tasting where you hit that threshold where it just becomes juice, and you're like, hey, this is great.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. Wine is what a mental subject wine is. It is just crazy. We think whiskey, it's like whiskey, but every country, there's been an expert in every country of whiskey. Is why, and then some, because it's not just the country, it's the region in the country, and then it's great that
great variety, and the year it was grown, depending like the weather, and like, yeah, it's insane, isn't it? I'm always so impressed when people have that knowledge. Like Darren always impresses me, who works for the shop.
And I'm pretty sure they just make up words and say it's on the label, because when they say something about the wine and I look on the label, there's nothing that looks like whatever they've just said on the label. And they're like, oh, no, that's it. And I'm like, that's not what you said. I mean, we get it with Glengarry or Bunnahabhain and stuff like that. But wine is ridiculous for it. It's crazy.
I know, because it can be quite intimidating as well. So it's nice that you can people can go into, because I like wine. I know what I like, but I don't know why I like it. And I would like to find out why I like what I like, and then be able to look for things that are similar. Yeah. And not just go into Tesco and Asda and be like, oh, well, I like that one, and so I'll just get that one. So it's nice to go into like a local place and just feel safe to say, this is what I know I like. You know, can you show me something different? Because you've got a good wine selection in the shop as well, and it's nice to just go in and pick a different bottle and be like, oh my god, like this is awesome.
Do you buy by the label though? Buy by the bottle? Oh, that looks nice. I'll have that one.
With wine, no, because I'm very specific about what I like. So I'll kind of read what it's like, because I don't have a sweet tooth. So I like a really sort of dark, heavy, kind of oaky red wine. So yeah, if I bought something by the label, chances are I'm not going to like the wine, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm just going to say hello to Bob. Bob, sorry you missed our guest. He had a deadline that he had to meet, so unfortunately he's gone. But I hope your Anik tasting went very well. Let us know a little bit about it. Who was hosting it, and what drams did you get to try? That would be interesting. We've just got in 2 new Aniks to the shop, or knock do's, as independent bottles. One from Skeen. It's been around a couple of weeks actually, and then we just got the signatory 16-year-old knock do, which is one I'm very much looking forward to trying. Pete Head is saying wine can have a lot of extra ingredients that do not appear on any label. You could almost fill a whole evening naming those. Wine is just it's a mind blow. I guess I would like to think that wine people look at the whiskey experts or people and say, well, how do you know all that?
Yeah, probably.
I guess if I was opening a wine shop and worked in that every day, I would know more about it.
Yeah.
But it feels, last night I felt like a complete dunce sitting with Anna, who is our sommelier, who's going to be joining us for the wine bar side of things, rattling off so much information. It's just like, this is insane. I understand now when you pick up a bottle of whiskey, and I'm not going to have one at hand. Yes, I have. And all it said is red wine cask. Because if you put more information on that, you're going to completely lose people. If they put the full details of that cask on that, it's like, you what? I can't pronounce any of those words. I'm going to put the bottle back and I'm going to pick something else.
I have seen a lot of distilleries, though, are actually just naming the wines. You know, they're not calling it a red wine cask. They're calling it Kenny last week had a very specific wine cask, and it was these kind of wines that are fermented. There's like wines that are fermented in these pots and fields in this one region was it in Italy, I think. So he named the wine, which is very, very cool. But I guess sometimes people look at it and go, what is that? Like, is it, what kind of alcohol is that? I guess if you don't know, it can be a bit confusing. So Jeremy, just like a Malbec. I do like a Malbec. So that's just his comment just disappeared there, but Malbec
is my go-to. I only really drink wine when I'm eating. Like if I'm
Yeah, like dinner.
not every time, not for breakfast, and I'll have a bag of crisps and a glass of wine. Like if I'm out for a meal, I will have a glass of wine. I don't like beers or ciders or things when I'm eating because I get too full. But a glass of wine would go quite nicely. And it's typically I'm a red meat eater when I go out, so a Malbec goes really well. We have a phenomenal Malbec in the shop, or it's going to be in the bar. If you're kicking around on Saturday, pop in. We're going to do an extended wine list in the current bar where we are. I've seen Callum's message on YouTube. Kenny disclosed so much information last week that I almost fell off my chair.
It was, yeah, that was a fantastic screenshot you got, Callum, of just the kind of moment where it all unfolded. It's it's really, really good. I'm going to pinch that and put it on the Blether social media.
Put it in a mug and send it to Kenny.
Put it on a mug, yes. Callum, you're in charge of merch.
I think Kenny is hosting the East City Whisky Club tonight.
Okay.
In an in-person event. I'm sure it's tonight. So I'm pretty sure he's knee-deep in ridicule from these guys, because Callum's also a part of the East City Whisky Club. I was the first to screenshot and share it out to the greater world that Kenny did indeed fall off his seat.
I know. He took it all very well, though. It was good fun.
100%.
It's your stupid camera that was the problem.
Don't blame the tech. Don't blame the tech.
Well, hopefully sometime soon we can do a live Blether from your new wine bar as well, so folk can see round about it.
We'll do a tour.
Yeah, maybe when we come back from summer, we can do that.
I did notice that we've gone off the pictures on the wall, but somebody mentioned Billy Walker. Who was it? Was it Rick? Yeah, Rick, Billy Walker. I mean, he's a bit of an icon, isn't he? He could adorn any wall.
I guess the only thing about that is, though, the whiskey geeks will know who they are, but to folk just coming in for their coffee and, you know, like a wine, they might not know who they are.
That's the idea.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Breaking the ice. Conversation starter. Who's that? Why is she on the wall? Why is he on the wall? This is blah, blah, blah. Would you like to try one of their drams?
You know when you can send your pet to like an Etsy shop and they turn it into like a queen or like a can we just do that?
Can we do the opposite? Can we like pictures of Billy but as a dachshund or
with just little wee legs? Yeah.
Oh, I wish we had this conversation like 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago, if I said to you, what I really want is Billy Walker merged with a dachshund, you would have been like, all right.
No, not going to happen. Oh, guys, if you're still watching, who's your favourite whiskey person and what pet would they be?
That's a good question, actually. What animal?
Ian for teeth would be a
Labrador.
Spaniel. No, he'd be a Spaniel because he's mad, non-stop, just keeps going.
He is. Yeah.
The Spaniel was a ball, and that ball is a whiskey.
Spaniel with a whiskey ball. Yeah, he's definitely, because I always say like a dog with two tails. So he has to be a big, like a bouncy, kind of happy dog. What would Ian McAllister be? He's a bit of a silver fox, isn't he? So like, I don't know, like a sort of
like a foot pit,
like
husky?
a sort of, like an Irish.
Kenny would be a husky.
A husky for Kenny.
Yeah, big and cuddly and travels a lot.
I guess so. Yeah, Ian McAllister could be like an Irish wolfhound. They're those big, kind of beautiful, kind of grey dogs, aren't they?
He's going to love the fact that you just picked a dog because it's grey.
No, they're so majestic. They're such beautiful dogs. I was thinking silver fox vibes, not grey. But yeah. Mark Thompson would have to be a short hair pointer because obviously that's his babies.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking St. Bernard because he's always in the hills.
Oh, that's quite a good one, actually. But they're quite, he's quite svelte. Burmese mountain dogs are quite jowly. I don't know if that would be the same.
Hills and an Irish setter. Yeah, I like that.
Yes, I see that. Yeah, that's a good one. Rachel Barry. Oh, she'd be like Lady from Lady and the Tramp, all kind of like...
Oh, a little cavalier.
Yeah, oh, yes, that's exactly what she would be. Just like kind of beautiful and sort of, I don't know, like well-kept. And yes, that's what she is. We're getting through it. I love how well we're getting through these.
And I don't think we're offending any of these guys either, which is always a bonus.
Well, no, because everyone loves dogs. Like I would, yeah. What dog would you?
We're kind of sticking to dogs though, because people have gerbils as pets and people have fish as pets.
Next mug, Ian McAllister, majestic grey,
beautiful.
He is. That is him summed up entirely. A majestic, grey, and beautiful.
Love it. Love it.
We'll have to get him on the chat, and then you can screenshot that one. That could be the tagline for his mug.
He is keen to come back on. I was talking to him not that long ago.
Oh, that would be good to have him on. Definitely. I need to start getting the... Oh, actually, while you guys are on, give me some suggestions for after summer. I've started to fill a diary for after summer. But I'm always keen for suggestions. If you've got your finger on the pulse more than I do, who are you watching? What podcast are you listening to? Who have you met in a distillery? Who would you like on? I'll put something up on my social media before we break up as well. Just get some suggestions from you guys, and I'll start chasing some people down.
And just to jump back to Diego. God, that's hard. To Diego, who is next week's guest. He's not actually the manager of Spain. Well, he might well be the manager of the company, but he deals specifically with sherry casks. So it's his job to regulate and work with distilleries who are wanting casks for their whiskey. So it's going to be a fascinating insight if you're interested in sherry, if you're interested in the cask process and that kind of thing. Next week is going to be, and he's a little bit mad as well. I've spoken to him for maybe about half an hour in a shop when he had no time to stop. He just popped in because he was over with Maria, who was one of our ex Highland Academy guests, and she wanted to come in and pick up a couple of bottles that she bought online, and they were like literally in and out, and it was at least half an hour later we were still yapping. So, what lovely guy, and it's going to be great if you're into that side of things, that sherry and cask and all this wonderful things. Dave wants us to get Alistair Walker back. He has been on with us. It would be great to have him back. I see he's just released another batch of whiskey as well, so we could talk about that. And Andrew Skeen, who Andrew has agreed, he's going to come on as well. We couldn't get him in before because of the break, but Skeen whiskies are doing so well, and with another release out in July. So that's going to be fun to speak to him. It's an independent bottler who, up until this year, was really focused on Asia. But he's come home now. He lives out there. He's from Fingen originally. So for those not familiar, Fingen is spelled Finzean, and really makes no sense. As much sense as Glengarry is spelt without an E. So he's going to be an interesting guy, really fun to talk to. Leon from James Eady, there's another one. We did a great chat with Hugh from James Eady. We did a tasting with him. It must have been through lockdown because it was a virtual tasting. But yeah.
I'm going to get Sophia on. I was just letting her settle into her new job and her new kind of life down in Campbelltown. But I will ask Sophia if she'll pop on as well.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Dave is just rattling them off here.
I know, right?
Which people would match up with a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull Terrier?
Well, I don't think we can pass comment on that. Although Rottweilers are so lovely, aren't they? Because they're like big.
It's got to be Kenny Digger from.
Because he did have one. He had no, his daughter had, or did he have one too? No, he had a spaniel, but his daughter has one.
I thought it was his.
No, he walks it a lot, but I think it's his daughter's. Because when I first started, he had a spaniel and he lost it. Bless. So yeah, what dog would you be, Mike? I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Bearded terrier.
Oh, like a sort of fox terrier, like a little whitey kind of fox terrier.
I'm not wiry. I'm wiry, maybe. Yeah, possibly.
Or a border terrier. Like maybe a border
like a
terrier.
Greyfriars Bobby. He was a border terrier, wasn't he?
No, was he not a
He was a
Kearney. He's a Kearney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cask Strength Curls.
What? Who is that?
Dave Packerson.
Is this a fans only page?
Oh no.
Cask Strength Curls.
You're not getting that from me.
I will give that a Google. Oh, do you know who else I want on? I want the girls from Dram podcast. I'll try and get them on too. So many people to try and get on. It's cool though, because always good to get suggestions. Who is Holly Newson? I don't know. You tell me.
Dave, if you're going to suggest people, it's good that you know them. I think Dave's just jumped on LinkedIn and typed whiskey people.
Yeah, Jen and Rachel, that's the girls. Yeah.
Yeah, they're from the Grail, or were formed of the Grail.
Yeah.
They'd be a hoot.
Yeah, we'll get them on as well. They were at Fife Whisky Festival, weren't they? But I never got them. Oh, you weren't there. But didn't mean it like that.
I thought we got over this. I thought we progressed past the jives that I can't go.
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant, what's the point in asking you because you weren't there? But I never got the chance to speak to them. It sounds worse as well. Like I'm just digging a hole there.
No point asking you. You'll know fuck all about it.
You've had a all over face and head cut. You've trimmed. You're like you've done your whole head and face. Your hair's all short.
There's better ways you could have put that.
No.
You've had a haircut.
Yeah.
You've had a trim. You've shaved.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
All over face and head cut.
When you say it back, yeah, it doesn't sounds a bit strange, but you've had your hair cut. Yes, Dave Muir, we are still live. We are still aware we're live. Sometimes we might forget we're still live and just start chatting.
We still have guests. I think people are bewildered. They're like, well, what do we do? Do we sit here and watch the Blether? Because Roy doesn't start for another 35 minutes. Or do we, I wonder what else is doing. Yes, we're in our seat. We just listen. Hopefully they'll forget they're live and they'll spill some juicy secrets.
Start gossiping about people they know.
Which does happen. See, we should have a Patreon behind the scenes paid for content where we just exclusive people get to stay on behind the scenes, because that's always some good fun.
Yeah, I see a few people have that now, but maybe we should. We're just not thinking big enough.
Maybe.
Yeah. We've had some good suggestions though, guys. Thank you very much. I will chase some leads up and get some good people booked in for after the summer break.
Absolutely. Stuart Buchanan is a great shout. And again, I've spoken to him. He was one that I wanted on my wall, but he hasn't sent me through a picture yet.
You haven't got a headshot yet.
I haven't got a headshot. But he is keen to come back on. He's just such a... The problem with when we aim for that level of and I mean that in terms of how busy they are. Trying to get them for even an hour or whatever is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louise, not the fog out. Just a picture for the wall in my house.
Yeah. Can we all get one, please? Yeah, I know it's because I want to get Ian for teeth back on as well, but again, he's such a busy man, and obviously with having the wee one now as well. But it'd be awesome to get him back on too, because we haven't had him on since we had him on with Ian McAllister for when Russell stepped down, and you guys introduced me as the new Blether host, and that was such fun. That chat as well, it was a lot of fun. So it'd be good to get.
Ryan, the 17th of July is the last Blether before the summer break.
Yeah.
So, put that in their diary. Kat, have you not got your big light on? Dave was asking.
I do have the big light on. I don't have my other light on, but why am I kind of fading into darkness? Yeah, I suppose maybe I do look a bit dark. No, big light's on.
We didn't ask you what kind of dog would you be? We never asked you that.
What would I be? It'd have to be something small and hairy. A Pomeranian. A little wee Pomeranian.
More with him.
Yeah, I think that maybe be me. I don't know,
I've gone for an Ardner Hole. We've talked a lot about Isla tonight, and I was getting a bit of a twitch to dig into some peat, because everything else I've had has been quite sweet. So my final dram tonight is going to be this.
Nice.
Sorry?
I was going to say I still haven't tried it, but I think I did. I think I tried it at your shop, actually. I think when it came in.
It wasn't the inaugural, it was the Infinite Loch that we cracked open there.
Cool.
Ed is saying he's going to be in Campbelltown next week, so if he does manage to watch live, he's going to be down there. Is that a whiskey pilgrimage, Ed? Or is you go bird watching or fishing? Which I think is the only other two options to go down to Campbelltown for.
Yeah, it'd have to be an ankle biting dog. I probably would as well, so watch yourself. Oh, yeah, like a big red... No, do you know what I have to be? Because I've always had Patterdales, so I'll be a little red Patterdale, because they are just cute as anything and a little bit mental. Proper little ankle biters, so I'll be a Patterdale. They're cute. You went to Rassay today, Callum. Awesome. I'd love to go to Rassay. That'd be very nice.
Hall tour followed by Nasaya. It's the 6 is what it translates to, but I can never pronounce it properly. So the 6, Rassay is the core range is made up of 6 different casks. Chinkapin, rye, and red wine, and then the same again but peated. So the tasting would have been, I'm assuming, a dram straight from each cask, which sounds phenomenal.
When they released it, you could buy the pack? They did not have
pre-release they did, or whenever they had tastings, because Rassay, they didn't have Spirit in 2020 because that's when we shut down. Alistair was our last guest as a taster in the shop when we did an in-house tasting. And they had the Nassia, which it wasn't called that at the time, but he took along the samples of all 6 casks to demonstrate. And we had the While We Wait was the release they had, which was from another distillery, peated red wine cask. So that was what the tasting was the samples. None of them were whiskey, but they were all, what was going to become the whiskey. So they do the Nasia tasting. I think last year they released this 3 unpeated, and then earlier this year or the end of last year they did the 3 peated versions as full 70cl bottles as a re-release. So Rassy is one of those, and Alistair would be one of these guys who'd probably end up on my wall as well.
What dog would Alistair be? Lurcher.
Would he be a lurcher?
Because they're like kind of like, I don't know, like lurchers are kind of really cool and kind of clever and like kind of like, I don't know, I kind of get this vibe about Alistair, like this kind of quiet, kind of listening, thinking vibe, and lurchers are like that. Like, I don't know.
Maybe. I think, maybe a bit of a lab, maybe of a trusty old,
Like
not old, but
retriever.
Somebody who you could depend on, somebody who just works away and gets consistent results every time.
Yeah, so maybe like a retriever then.
Yeah.
Quite like that, are they?
I just got images of all these people as animals on my wall now. I think it's going to be such a cool idea.
Well, if we know anybody that can turn portraits of people into dogs, then that's a very niche thing. So what do you do for a living? Well,
take your head and put it on a fish.
Put it on. Yeah, unless you got like those people that do caricature.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Caricatures. That is right. They had like
I didn't say it wasn't, so
argue with myself there. Yeah. Well, there you go. So you've got so many suggestions for your walls. You've got like mad dog people. You're going to have Blether guests. You're going to have quotes. You're going to have tasting notes. If people are going to need to just take some time to come in, it's going to be like Aberdeen Art Gallery. It's going to be exciting stuff.
Which sadly is up against it. The art centre in Aberdeen is they need like, what has I heard? They need £130,000 worth of funding by the end of next week to.
Geez, I think they should have like revealed that information sooner, so we got some time to get some raffles together or something. Like, don't drop that on us.
Yeah.
It's a shame because the cafe is gorgeous. I took my youngest son up to the cafe to sit out and have coffee on the little terrace looking out over the city. And I didn't even know you could do that until recently. I hope they don't close that down. Oh, that'd be such a shame. Surely there'd be some sort of government funding to keep arts galleries open, you'd hope.
You'd like to think.
Yeah. Goodness.
So Callum is saying Rassy released a 5-year-old last year, so the 7-year-old is due next year.
That's cool.
So it was, I'm pretty sure it was 3 series of 6, the 3 unpeated and the 3 peated. And then, I think Rassy's such a cool distillery. Have you been over yet? Have you managed to get over to the...
No, I haven't. I'd love to go and see it, but no, it's on the... You went over because that's how you met Tor from...
Yeah.
College.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a cool story as well. But no, I'd love to head over. I'll try and do that at some point. Maybe I'll do it on my holidays. Although, how did you get over? You go over from Skye, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ferry, bridge over to Skye, and then along the north coast, and there's a ferry. So I don't think it's that long. It's not even 20 minutes in the ferry over to Rassy.
No, that's cool. Is it quite a big island?
Define big, because you've stayed on islands before. I haven't.
So to me, Isla is huge.
It's not as big as Skye.
Skye is massive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite cool. Ling was 4 miles long, so I mean that's really wee, I suppose. But maybe Rassie's somewhere between Isla and Ling, I suppose. I'll need to go and have a look.
I have no idea. Callum might be able to answer you.
I want to go see Torabeg as well. I love their whiskey. I'd love to go and see that display. It's got a visitor centre, right?
Where, Rassie?
No, Torabeg.
Torabeg's awesome. It's such a cool vibe, and I don't even think it's because you're looked after so well. It really is. I've said it before on the Blether. I think I say it to a lot of guys in the shop. Whenever we talk about new distilleries, I always forget about Torabeg because it feels like it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Just the whole vibe of the place, the story behind the distillery being built, the taste of the liquid. I noticed Callum did put up a picture of his Torabeg tasting, and it looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
It just it differed from Rassie, whereas they're both doing really cool stuff and really fun. Rassie is quite passionate about being new and being a little bit different, whereas Torabeg is, no, we want to stick true to Skye and what is traditional about Skye. So they're both going about it different ways, but what they've both done is nailed down their core spirit and nailed down that core flavour really quickly and play on it. And they only go off in little tangents. It's not like, and here's a sherry bomb, and here's a peat bomb, and here's a virgin oak. It's little nuances showing the journey, but the core spirit. So for me, that I trust them. If you know what I mean,
Yeah, I love the fact that they didn't try and hide behind anything though. Like early days, they were very spirit forward. Like, we're just going to whack this in a bourbon cask or refill bourbon cask, and we're just going to let the spirit do the talking. It's a pale color. We don't care. Like, we just are going to own our shit, and it's such a fantastic whiskey. Yeah, really, really lovely.
Yeah.
So,
Rassie is about the size and shape of Manhattan.
Okay, that's cool.
So there we go. That doesn't help me. I don't know how big Manhattan is or what shape it is.
But I do like that fact. So I'm gonna.
I love the attempt.
I'm gonna Google how many people live on Rassie.
161.
Are you guessing that, or have you just seen it in the chat somewhere?
No, it's on the label of the bottles.
Oh, okay. So that is pretty small because Ling was 150. So yeah, that's cool. Must be similar sizes. I based everything around Ling.
On how many people?
161 at the last census. Manhattan, roughly the size of
Rassie.
Rassie, yeah. There's Pete Head doing his dad jokes again.
But using your logic on the population, I'm pretty sure there's more people live in Manhattan than there is live in Rassie.
I bet. Well, yeah, I would say so. Definitely.
So, Torabeg is now 8 years old, started distilling in 2017. Went under the radar for the first 3 or 4 years because they were well funded. Yet funded by Neil and the Mossburn group. So Mossburn Distillers, who own Rassie, who, I don't know if this is true or not, on the grapevine, Mossburn are going to be stopping the independent bottling side of things and really focusing on the spirit development, because they have got a really funky project going on further south in the lowlands. I think, is it Brechin? Might be wrong with that, but they've got a distillery and they're doing all kinds of weird and wonderful distillation projects there. So we might see more of that coming out.
That's cool.
And I think somebody mentioned very early on about the Torabeg. I think it was Ryan. Was it Ryan who asked about the Torabeg indie bottling? Because he didn't. Stuart mentioned on our Blether with him recently that they weren't going to be releasing many casks. So Thompson have obviously got one. I think they released one to the whiskey shop on Skye as well.
Yeah,
I haven't heard much if David's been kicking around recently.
the chat recently. Yeah, no, it'd be cool to see it appearing more. I wonder which independent bottler will be the next to bottle Tor of Egg. I'll have to look out for it.
Yeah. So, 161 is the population of Rassay. 1.6 million is the population of Manhattan.
They must all just live like, stretching your apartment and you're kind of scratching the chin of your next door neighbour. Like, they must be elbow to elbow.
So Callum needs to go and move to Rassay because the SMWS code is 162. So somebody needs. I think Rassay's been on the go. Is it about the same age as Tornavega? It's 8 years, maybe. If it hasn't grown the population, then they're failing because they said part of the reason for the distillery being built is to keep people and bring people back to the island. And I think they've done it pretty well. So that last census must be 10 years ago, so it's out of date. There must be more than 161 people now.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Blether day out. We'll go door to door and we'll do a head count. And we'll
Tornavega, Glen, batch strength still a bit. I 100% agree with Callum on that one. I did take a fancy to the Crochramoyne, which was the sherry. When I say sherry, it was like 8% sherry. It was a tiny little influence of sherry, but it did steal me for a little bit. But that Altglown batch strength is just banging. It's so good. It blows anything. For me, anything I've tried from Talisker is blown out of the water by that.
Yeah. No, it's fab.
Dave, I'm going to say cheerio. Dave Fagerson has got to go. He says it's so warm here, he's going to wait to sit in a fridge.
It did get warm today. It was so overcast this morning and it got very, very cozy. Nice to see you, Dave. Well, I suppose we better call it quits for now as we're up to 2 hours, I guess.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be
managed to patter about for an hour without Ali.
I know. Everyone's going to be racing off to go see their Aqua Vitae chat soon. So I guess we're going to start losing our blethering.
They've got 15 minutes. You could
might need a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Because I think Roy's chat tonight is Islands as well. I think it's Islands Part 2 is the chat tonight. So these guys are going to be so well prepped for that. Having talked about Skye and Rassay and Ling.
You guys, oh my God, guys! If anybody wants to bring Ling into the Aqua Vitae chat, then please do. It's Luing.
Did you know the population of Ling is 150 people?
About 150, yeah. And also, yet again, we've managed to just, build the chat for Roy. So there you go, Roy. You are welcome. We are totally his warm-up act.
Where's Roy? Who's Roy?
Do we not have a guy on here that's called Where's Roy?
Yeah. He spent some time with Ali at a whiskey tasting, I think.
Well, that's true. Had breakfast with him or something. I don't know. Sat on a train with him. Knows his nana. I don't know. I can't remember half the connections we've had tonight. It's so funny.
Crazy. But yeah, we didn't even get onto his tours or anything. But yeah, loved him as a guest. It was great to have him on.
Yeah, a really good speaker as well. I can see why he does so well. Just a natural storyteller, which is fantastic. Because yeah, I mean, to have such a full knowledge of history is amazing, but to then translate that into something that people enjoy just sitting listening to, because history can be stuffy, if it's just all dates and, events and names of people and things, it can be sometimes you can lose your audience. So it's quite a skill to just turn that around and make it into a bit of a story, which is very cool.
The annoying thing about me, or that I find about me, is that's a bit. I remember dates and I remember that kind of side of things, not the stories. Like, there was a boy kicking around, but it was like 1872, and he did something, and I can't remember what it was, but that's the date, and it was funny, but I can't remember the story. But yeah, just your story's shit.
I don't remember dates, so I always just kind of say in the 1800s, around the 70s, because I'm like, no, I'm not going to remember that date. I don't want the pressure of trying to remember the date.
Maybe why we work is I'll remember the date, you'll remember the story.
I'll remember the story, yeah. Oh, Scott Matheson is going to mention Ling. Luing. It's got the silent U. So yeah, shoehorn that into the Roy chat, and I'll be pleased. Give it a mention, and that would be cool.
I'm going to disagree with Callum. I think the Crochnamoynia is a better core range than the Sound of Sleet when it comes to Torrevig. Callum's great grandmother is from Ling.
That's
she must
so
have been
cool.
one of the founding families.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the island's always been there. I don't think it's new. Yeah, I mean, so there was like used to be a slate mining island, and then the farm was always there as well. I was trying to figure out what GGG was for a minute. I was like, what does he mean, GGG?
Like Ling, Geary.
Ling, to get there, you need the Atlantic Bridge. That's right. So you go across the Isle of Seal, over the bridge, over the Atlantic, and then you can either go right up to Easdale or left up to Ling. I don't work for Ling.
You can't go left up to Easdale and right up to Ling. You can't go left and right and both go
right up to Easdale, left up to Ling. Did I say left? I don't know.
Can you go? Maybe you can go left and right and go up both ways.
Yeah, in my head, yes. I mean,
Must be a tight angle, though. Must be a tight angle.
You're talking to somebody that thinks if you're going downhill, you must be going south. So, like, I'm not big on directions.
Whereas Roy has just got, we talked about his Torrevig earlier on in the chat. The Thompson Brothers Torrevig. Yes, it's very good. It is a little bit peatier than core strength Torrevig. I wonder if that's because it's cast strength. It's a bit punchier. It does remind me a little bit of the Altglown cast strength in that way. It's good. It's good. It's not. Yeah, Callum's just commented. It's not rushing out to buy it. Cheers, Callum. I was just about to do a wee plug for it and say everyone was back. No, it's good. And I don't think it's different enough from what Torrevig are doing themselves to make you want to go out and have a stam at it. But if you're looking for something that's cast strength from Torrevig that's not the Altglown, it's worth it. If that makes sense. Yeah, it's I don't think they've been around long enough to have much differentiation in their spirit, because it's just a refill bourbon cask. Just a refill. Don't mean that to sound derogatory in any way, but there's only so much advancement of flavour. There's only so much development you can get in that. So I don't think it's different enough. If they'd release something like a port cask or a rum cask or something, then you might think, well, this is really different. But no, I agree with Callum there on that. It's just similar what you would get to a core release. Good evening to Whisky Works, Graham. So for those who don't know Whisky Works, Graham is the guy who, if you've seen any photos of our tasting room, our current one, and we've got some pretty cool pictures of Little Brown Dog and Ben Romich and our own whiskey shop exclusive, and a Springbank 12 are the ones we've got up in the moment. If you like that art, that is Whisky Works Graham. So check him out on Instagram. It does brilliant. And has done some phenomenal distillery pictures recently. So up until I bought some works from him it was pretty much distillery out of bottles that he focused on. But I've seen recently, Graham, you've been working on stills and all sorts. So check him out. Whisky Works over in Ireland does some fantastic stuff. So part of our refit, we've got some pictures of the Foghouse range going to be going up on the walls as well. All done by Graham. So great to have you on the chat.
I will give him a follow. That's very cool. What's in my glass? It's still the same because I don't want to have to drink that fast. It's the, what am I having? It's the Lindors. So I poured one just as Ali left the chat because we were going to speak about him being involved in archaeological dig at Lindors Abbey. So I thought I'll get one of those out. But yes, still working away at it. I think it's like, I kind of feel like it's quite punchy. What is it? 49.4. It's not that bad.
Is that the wine cask?
It is, yes.
It looks like that.
I don't remember it being as sweet as this, but yeah, no, it's lovely. It's very, very nice. I just love the bottles as well. You know, like I'm a sucker for a nice bottle, so I do love that. But yeah, that's what I've got. Sticking to it's a wine theme. I had my port spey, and I've got my wine Lindors. Just I don't know. I'll have to finish it off with a I don't know what else wine related I've got. Not too sure. I'll have to rake around.
I haven't looked at what kind of casks I'm drinking. I've had a port, I've had a bourbon, I've had a bourbon sherry, and I've had a sherry.
Oh, there you go.
Pretty mixed.
Broad spectrum.
But guys, it's been phenomenal.
It's been good fun.
Once again, to have you. Yeah, Graham, we've just been talking about the Crochnamoyne. I don't want to go off on another tangent, but Gaelic, what a bitch of a language, right? It's just crazy. So we had Ryan, who just came back from a tasting from Anik, which is spelt ACNOC. Anik. And then Toravaig come out with Crochnamoyne, which is CNOC. So with my northeast knowledge of Gaelic, knock, CNOC, is pronounced knock. Over in the west coast, it's croc. And I'm like, just fuck off. Just pronounce it the same. And then this obviously led to me realising that Gaelic is a language, and each language, like every language, has dialect. So not only can you learn Gaelic, but you need to learn it in the Gaelic of the area that you're going to be moving to or growing up in. Because
Moyne up in Sutherland is just known as Moyne, because the flow country is called the Moyne. So, yeah, just. But I guess Gaelic, because it's such a dying language, people don't really get upset if you get it marginally wrong, do they? I think
if I went into a bar in Skye and said, "Oh, I'll have that knock Moyne," they would be like, "No, you're going to have to say that right before you get a fucking dram of it."
Well, maybe actually, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful one. It is beautiful, though. We'll just wish we all got to learn it at school. We'd be a lot more familiar with its nuances if we all got to learn it at school a bit.
But I'm pronouncing it right. Smoky Mountain.
Oh, I love that.
And it's not even, I don't think if I'm right, Cam, it's not even on Skye. I think it's over on the Mallaig kind of peninsula. It's when you look over to the mainland is where the Smoky Mountain is. Cool. It's not on Skye. It's part of the view across the Sound of Sleat, which incidentally is the fourth release, or the fourth core release.
I mean, it's a pretty cool, pretty cool names they've got for their releases. To be honest, I love that they're using the sort of the locality and the landscape to name their expressions after. It's very, very cool.
I wonder what sound of sleet in Gaelic is.
Louise is saying that there's Gaelic school lessons now, but they're opt-in.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I'll bet you the uptake would be bigger if we just started putting everything in Gaelic.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Needs must and all that.
Bus timetable work because numbers
I
are
think.
extremely anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Takeaway menus. Although I don't know if you could do like Chinese and Indian food in Gaelic. I think they don't even got like a word for microwave. I don't think you're gonna have it for korma. That might be a bit more difficult.
Korma's Indian anyways, but
yeah,
small details. Before moving to Scotland, aged 8 in 1985, sorry.
How old are you?
I asked my parents if we would have to learn garlic.
Oh, garlic. Oh. So my ex-husband's brother, when we lived up in Sutherland, we were driving up to Inverness for the day, and we were going past all the signs that say Linksfahren, keep to the left in German. And he was like, "Oh, that'll be your Scottish Gaelic then, is it?" I'm like, "It's German. It's German." And that is one of the very many reasons I've divorced out of that family. Inbreeding causes all sorts of problems. So yeah. They won't be watching.
Ed says, "Fuck off! I'm not that old." Sorry, I got two numbers.
Bringing out the big words.
Sound Asleep was supposed to be called. Oh yes.
Okay.
So when this was pre-Stuart, and we had Bruce Perry, who is still, I think he retires this year, and was the original brand ambassador for Mossburn, and took our first tasting of Torraveg when I think they only had the 2017 out. So it was a tasting of Mossburn, and here's what we're doing with the release of the Torraveg. And I remember the story. They had the story of what they planned over the next 10 years, up till their 10-year-old whiskey. And Altbrich, Briechach. It's probably something like Alt. I don't know. Fun. No.
It's quite a mouthful. There's a lot of CH sounds in there. I can't imagine it would roll off the tongue very easily unless you knew exactly how to pronounce them.
And that's just typed in without any accents or anything like that. So, yeah, they gave up in Gaelic because it was so hard to pronounce. It is, and that's, when it comes to whiskey marketing, there's a reason, guys like Glenfiddich and Oban and Macallan, and they're really easy ones to sell.
You say that though, but how many times people say Oban? It's like, how are you getting that?
You know what it's got. You know what they're talking about.
Yeah. That's
easy
true.
enough.
But then it's the same with any language. You look at a lot. If you're not a French speaker, you look at a lot of French words, and they're not pronounced exactly how you think.
All you need to do is this, and you speak French.
Yes, I'm sure the French would love
the bread, yeah, butter. You instantly say. And when when it comes to Italy, you just do this. And you sound Italian.
Yeah, I would love to say that's not true, but it is entirely true.
It's like a completely British way of looking at other languages. Speak slow and use their hand signals, and they will understand.
Yeah, after dating an Italian for a while, so even like the emoji after would be that one. Like if there was like so yeah, it's kind of true. Well, I'm glad we've covered all the countries, all the languages. It's been educational.
The whole Western coast of Scotland has been covered.
Ling's going to get a mention on Roy's chat tonight.
Yeah,
It's all
I am
good. I
going to
think
go and see if that happens. Guys, it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for sticking around, even though our guest had to leave early. It's been really, really good fun. Hopefully, you've learned something, even if it's that the uptake in Gaelic schools aren't great, or that you have to cross the Atlantic to get to Ling.
yeah, or that Ian McAllister is grey, majestic, and beautiful. I think
He's going to love that. And I think he would prefer majestic and beautiful. Yeah. If we could tone it down to 2.
I mean, silver, definitely. Yeah, no, it's been good fun. We've only mildly insulted every nation and person that works in whiskey, so I think we can nailed it.
We can sleep soundly tonight.
Yeah, job done.
I'm going to wait to go offline so I can fall off my seat now. It's all good. Kenny, I hope you have fun and nobody rips the piss out of you tonight at your tasting. Go on, one more tangent. No,
you know so well, Louise.
Just a wee encore of, I don't know, what kind of tangent? That's the whole point of a tangent, is it's unexpected. We can't just, it just doesn't just happen. Scott, you have a good night as well. Great to have you on. Great to have everyone on, as always. We couldn't do it without you guys.
And you guys make the chat. Yeah, just seeing the community, like the sort of chat between you guys and our guest, was fantastic. I love that. So, and it's always nice to see you guys talking to each other. And you've always got such great suggestions as well. So it just makes every week a lot of fun, and it makes our job very, very easy as well.
Do you know what I really? Okay, here's your tangent, Louise. Tonight was majestic, grey, and beautiful. Tonight, I genuinely have concerns about the Blether when we take somebody who's not maybe in the whiskey industry, because the guys at home don't know who they are. And I had that concern tonight because Ali's he's not in the industry as such. He's a historian, so although he talks about it and does tours and things. But the amount of people at home were like, "Oh, I met you and I did this with you, and you thought I was a Jehovah's Witness." And it was so refreshing to see how quickly people jumped in and took that. Took Ali to, and the fact that he's called Ali in a historian and historic Ali, I love a pun, and I just think it was.
I did not get that was a pun until I was typing out his email address. I was like, historic Ali. That's quite a bit. Oh, he's done that on purpose.
I said that to you. I said, "Do you not think that's really funny?" And you're like, "Yeah."
I know. I must. Yeah, not listen to that, but it was really, really cool. And so interesting just to see actually how well connected he is to the industry. Like, I didn't know he was that heavily involved. I just thought it'd be cool to hear about illicit distillation. Louise has just got it as well, historically. I know, right? Funny.
I think we were at it was great. Kenny's tasting on Saturday. I think I've come up on Friday night. One of my best puns ever. And Louise looked at me like I'd shat in her cornflakes. And we're talking about sherry, and we're talking about the conversation and that. And I says, "Well, it's necessary to talk about it." And I thought that was brilliant. And I'd never heard it before. And I thought, and she looked at me, and then I think she had to laugh because she realised how brilliant it was.
She suddenly realised just how brilliant it was. It was a delayed response to your brilliance. I like that you know how to spell it, though. Do you know, it's how Sean Connery would say it, though. So,
Exactly.
Well done,
I thought it was brilliant.
Very, very good. What were we trying to rename with Kenny? It was the teaspooning, wasn't it?
Teaspooning, yeah. We had some pretty risque versions.
Yeah.
Dripping and
Squirting.
squirting was one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
We did come up with a good one in the end. One of the guys came up with a good one. I'll have to watch it back and see what it was.
my one was totting, but there was one that was better than totting. Can't remember.
No, there was a really good one that we kind of all settled on at the end. But yes, always, you never know where the chat's going to go. Love it. We're doing important work for the whiskey industry, guys. Keep it up.
Ed is saying he's seen Mark Watt at a tasting next week, or Kate next week. I appear to be 2 years left. I appear to be 2 years left than me. Also, I'm going to...
Oh, he's 2 years less than him. Like, he's younger by 2 years.
Okay. Older. 2 years older than me, although he might be older.
Okay, well, I'm glad we had that chat.
I hope you guys can read this because it seems like I'm just babbling. I'm seeing Mark Watt at a tasting, or Kate, next week. I appear to be 2 years left than me, although I thought he might be older. I'm not 130. I know you're not 130 years old, Ed. I know you're only 125. I'm sorry. I'm older. So you appear to be 2 years older than him? Edward... no, Callum's saying Mark is younger than he looks. It's the... See, when you rub onions in your skin, keeps you young.
What? You rub onions into your face to keep yourself young?
Hey, anti-wrinkle cream.
I've never heard of people... Have you been rubbing onions in your face? I've never...
I didn't say I did it, but yeah, if you just on your cheeks. Just cut an onion in half before you put it in your spag ball or something. Just rub it on your cheeks.
Okay, well, I'll give that a go because, turning 40, like, give anything a go. Yes, Kat, it's science. Okay, I'm going to have to research this. I'm going to...
100%.
I'm going to give that a go. Okay, well, you now know what I'm going to do when we check out the Blether. I'm going to go find myself an onion and rub it into my face.
Avoid the eyes. Don't.
Like cucumber circles. Oh my God, my eyes. It just hurts so much.
Just the cheeks. And maybe like a wee squidge along here.
On my forehead.
Mm.
Okay, well, awesome. All in the name of science. I'll give it a go.
So to our Facebook viewers like David and Jeremy, I do apologise if what I just said made absolutely no sense, because you guys don't see the comments that come up on YouTube. We see both comments. So all I was trying to do was read a comment on YouTube. So I wasn't talking
gibberish.
If
I mean, you are on rubbing onions into your face. You've just gone from that into and then stick an onion on your face. That's diverged slightly. But it's good. Yeah.
Do wonders.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, I don't think Ed's taken a comment about his age personally at all.
He's not letting it go, is he? Oh,
do you know what you
I said 1895 instead of 1985.
Get yourself an onion, Ed. It's the key to youth. Get yourself an onion.
I think he already has, to be fair. He's looking pretty good for 130, 125.
Yeah,
guys,
that's what a good dram and an onion does for you.
That tangent was just for Louise. So
yeah, well done, Louise. You triggered that. It wasn't even me that instigated that this time. That was entirely Mike. I was just a bystander for that. Just let you go with that one.
Tangents, onions, Callum says, they both have layers. We're fine.
That's true. I like how much airtime onions are getting also on our whiskey-based chat.
Tune in next week when Kat looks 21 again.
Yep. I'll have my big light on and I'll skin of a 16-year-old and really weepy eyes.
Yeah, everything but the eyes. The eyes are going to look like 90. Baggy.
Yeah, something to look forward to, guys.
Right, guys. Good night. Love to have you on. It's been such an interactive chat. Like I say, we could not do it without you. Cannot wait till next week. It's going to be so much fun with Diego coming in and talking sherry. So if you have your sherry questions, Kat, you're going to love it. It's going to be.
I've got a question. Why?
Why not? Don't start me, because you love your bourbon, but bourbon is pretty much the newest whiskey cask, apart from maybe tequila.
Yeah, I think that probably.
Bourbon's only been around since the 40s and as a mainstay.
Yeah, but it's just. Well, we can do this next week.
We will.
Right. It's been a pleasure,
Thanks,
guys. Slange.
Take care.